In this series, we're on an exciting journey looking for the very best interior design projects from around the country. Welcome to Australia by Design Interiors. We've gathered our panel of design industry leaders at Top 3 by Design in Sydney to find out which projects will make it through to our series final.
Around the table, we've got some of the best expertise in Australia, from interior design practices through to specifiers providing product that complete that special project.
In this episode, Terry's taking in the chaos of family life in Perth, and I'm gobbling up one of Sydney's newest and best looking restaurants, and I get to meet the talented designers behind this stunning studio. But first, Reno is taking a look at an interior which is half exterior.
Wow, what a sight. A garden, an oasis in the centre of the city.
Concrete, timber, stone and landscape has made it into a truly amazing interior.
We usually come home and shut the door to the outside world. Well, this project does the exact opposite. Wow. Now, this is no ordinary apartment, is it, Adam?
No, it's not. It's a very special apartment right in the centre of Sydney. We wanted to create an apartment which was a garden rather than an apartment, and have these gardens that then we happen to live in, as opposed to a house that had some gardens around it. The building used to be an agricultural machinery showroom. So they would take the tractor from the showroom into the lift, up onto the roof, and you'd test drive it around on the roof. And we're on the old roof of the building. Most people who I'd say we live on Cleveland Street, they're like, oh my gosh, that must be so noisy. But actually up here, you don't hear much at all. We've done things like have the garden here, set the apartment back from the edge, and we have a pond which creates some background noise, and it just kind of filters out the hum of the city. So when you get up here, it's incredibly quiet. You often feel like you're in the middle of the bush. It's really special, actually. There were two components of the building which were original. There was an old stairwell which became a bedroom, and the old lift which became our master bedroom. I think there should be joy in just the composition of spaces and sizes of openings and windows, and they should align with certain views. Within the apartment, we wanted to connect to the sky. It's kind of another facade, it's another view that often people don't take advantage of. So by inserting skylights in the middle of the plan, we were able to get light dropped into the centre, but also just watch the clouds go over.
I'd really like to have a look at that.
Absolutely, let's have a look.
Okay, so this is the skylight that you were talking about, is that right?
Yeah, this is the ensuite shower, and it connects, the skylight connects us from the shower space itself up to the sky.
Hang on, am I seeing double, triple here? Is this a triple shower, is it?
It's a double shower. My partner and I decided that the only time we really get to see each other in our busy lives is when we shower. So it's two shower heads for us, so we can kind of talk while we're having a shower in the morning. Third one so we can clean the shower easily.
Oh, that makes a lot of sense. And the pathway that I see back here, that goes to...
The shower kind of funnels you out, up a few stairs and out into the garden. And we've got a bath nestled into the garden, into the landscape. Faces west, we get to kind of have a bath with a glass of wine and watch the sunset over the Blue Mountains.
Sounds civilised.
It's pretty nice.
And Adam, this is very much a green kitchen. I don't think I've ever seen a green kitchen before. Is this to make everyone envious?
It's pretty special. It's about connecting the landscape just outside with the interior. There's a Boston ivy that grows on the wall directly adjacent to here, and in the summer it's vivid green, and we wanted a colour that would connect the outside and the inside. It's also the opportunity for me to try something that, you know, I'm rarely allowed to do with clients. To try and convince them to do a green kitchen is quite hard, but for myself it was pretty easy decision to make. I think it's really calming space.
And I can see that the kitchen, although it's quite separated, but it's well connected to the rest of the apartment, isn't it?
Yeah, one of the things I hate about apartment living is that the kitchen is often in the living room. So we wanted to make the kitchen its own space so you could cook and it'd be quite contained. But at the same time, this island bench is about that connection from the living space into the kitchen. And when people come over, this is really where you congregate, and the kitchen is the place to cook, somewhat separate from the living room.
And I noticed that throughout the apartment, you've actually paid respect to the heritage of the building. I'm seeing industrial-sized vents for air conditioning. I'm seeing doorways all the way up to the ceilings, and also the glass insert.
Yes, in the main fit-out, in the offices that used to exist downstairs, there was some beautiful fluted glass in the partitions. So in a kind of subtle reference, we wanted to take some of that material into the new part of the building, but without it being kitsch, we just wanted to kind of, you know, have a bit of a playfulness with it, enjoy a little bit of that history.
Well, you've done that very well.
Thanks so much.
By designing an apartment that lets the outside in, Adam has managed to create a detailed, unique oasis right in the heart of the city, while still paying homage to its industrial past.
Now, an architect's studio is their shop front, but it doesn't need to be limited to just that. In fact, behind this very unassuming facade is a wide-angled view of design.
Space and Time is an interesting project because it was 3 years in the making. It's actually Russell and George's own space.
What I particularly like about this design is that it's a multidisciplinary approach. It's not about architecture or interior design. It's about good design, well considered and applied throughout.
So, is this the office manager?
Yeah, this is the office manager, right?
What's her name?
This is Fergie.
Oh, she's beautiful. Well, I have to say, this is an inspirational place to work. And I think you've delineated the space quite elegantly by just using colour. And I just love the fact that it's completely modular. This looks like an industrial shed of some sort, yeah?
Yeah, it was a mechanics.
And this is your boardroom?
Well, this is the boardroom today. You know, the boardroom might be over in the lighter space tomorrow, but who knows?
I like it because no one really sits at the head of the table.
Well, that's the point.
So there's no A-type personalities invited here?
No. we don't produce good design outcomes that way.
Yeah, I agree.
So when we first moved in here, we basically, we lived in a tent.
Yeah.
And we air-conditioned that tent. And it was this big black tarp that was this kind of voluminous thing suspended from the ceiling. Our office was in a tent for about 3 years.
You're either nuts or you're very courageous.
Probably nuts. It inspires clients, but it's also about inspiring our team.
Yeah.
It's also about, you know, keeping ideas vibrant.
And what do people say when they come into this space? I mean, they must be quite excited, yeah?
Yeah, they normally open the door and they kind of are a little bit shocked to see what's beyond the door. Normally it's met with a bit of an audible gasp and a wow.
And you've done a good job at sort of, I guess, softening the space with all of these textures and fabrics.
It's that combination of being, you know, severe and soft.
And so it's modular. Everything's on wheels.
Everything's on wheels.
Are the staff also on wheels?
I don't know whether they like being on wheels all the time, but
Shall we check?
we should probably check.
Do you like being moved around?
I like my little sunny spot at the moment.
I think that's sometimes.
Sometimes.
And so this is where all the samples are kept?
Yeah, this is where our trade library is kept,
Yeah.
samples and everything else. It's also our bar, so we turn them around, join them together. The galvanised faces on the out, and then we have a cocktail party or you know, or a buffet or whatever else.
Oh, you're back again, are you? You're back again. Is that because we're about to open up the kitchen?
I think so. So she knows there's food in there.
She can
for that
smell
fact.
food, yeah. It's not just about the architecture. You've also designed all the components that go into the space as well, yeah?
Yeah, we designed and we also made most of them on site. So
Amazing.
That's why it probably took so long.
But you know what? It was worth the wait. It's hard to believe that insects had a play in this design.
We call this chair the spider chair.
Yes.
Because it's sort of, to us, it kind of looked like a little spider and little antlers and that kind of thing.
In a way, this is a form of biomimicry, yeah?
Yeah, there is a bit of that. I can't tell you how many versions of weaving this thing we came up with until we decided on what this was. And there's no glue on it. It's all held together with gravity and with just the knots and the rope itself. The table's designed so it's They can be split apart. They're all held together with magnets as well, so the junctions.
And I'm dying to know more about that couch.
We call this the millipede, mainly because it has lots and lots of legs. But as you move around and the legs line up, the thing appears to sort of float and hover. It's one of those things that just, you know, sinking into this on a Sunday afternoon.
Yeah.
Just, yeah.
The ergonomics are perfect.
Yeah.
It's actually really your physical portfolio, isn't it?
Well, we don't really distinguish between interior design and architecture and furniture and object. And from our point of view, creating a beautiful space for somebody is really the most important thing, regardless of whether it's a chair or a door handle or a 5-level house. You know, it's all the same.
Ryan and Byron have shown that beauty and flexibility don't need to be mutually exclusive. You can have both. Their attention to and complete control of every level of composition here in this space is the perfect public declaration of not only a beautiful workspace, but their unified approach to design. We're on the hunt for some of the best interior design across the country. And later on in the series, our judges will be looking at which projects from this episode will make it through to our series final. Right now, Terry's heading to Perth to catch up with a familiar face.
Little Big House by Susie Hunt. Hasn't she just created the quintessential family home?
5 children, 2 adults, big house, bold and very warm.
So Susie, you're a host on the architecture series and an architect yourself. I thought we were here for interiors.
We are. We, as architects, do architecture and interiors, and this is the latest house we've finished. We call it Little Big House.
It's not really what I'd expect from an architect as an interior. I expected something pared back and minimal.
I think that architecture and interiors in residential needs to be responsive to every client, and this client was definitely not a pared back minimalist. They wanted mid-century, or the ethos of mid-century. Fun, family, connectedness, architecture, landscape, interiors all holding together, and actually a place for their collections to be displayed. Like most residential architects, we actually do interiors in-house, and I think that gives a really holistic response. You know, the architecture and the interiors have to be designed together. We spend more time in our house looking out than we do out looking in. Come down into the sunken living room. How mid-century can you get?
For such an open space though, it actually feels really contained. This feels like a zone.
It is. That's what happens when you drop the floor and raise the ceiling just a little bit. You know, it means that you feel like you're in a separate room without walls.
And look at this rug.
This rug was a signature piece of design, and it was designed with the client, with us and with a rug designer, and it took a year to make. This is a family house, and it's a family with 5 children. So we couldn't have little soft, you know, pieces of interiors. It has to be robust. So we've got the porcelain tiles on the ground that run outside. We've brought bricks from outside in, so the interiors and the exterior actually works together. And then we've got this beautiful open fireplace and a TV hidden.
I hate a room designed around the TV. This is genius.
I know. It is so important, I think, to hide the TV so people are actually talking, not always looking at the television.
Standing up, I didn't quite get this window, but now...
I think when you actually do the architecture and the interiors together, you get that. We decided that it was really important. We needed the wall for some privacy for the neighbours, but we wanted to have that window, and we've got that signature pond, which was designed with the landscape architects. This client is an avid collector, so it was really important we had places for her collections. We were designing around the pieces that she had and that she was collecting while we were designing and building. And so we were doing a continual audit of the things that she was buying and saying where they were, and locating them and saying this is where they're going to go. Sometimes we had to say, look, stop, you're collecting too much. But it was also, it gives this feeling of it being their family home, and it is theirs. It's all about them.
This is a real sanctuary.
Terry, if you had 5 children, wouldn't you want a sanctuary? What was wonderful here is the client gave every child the opportunity to pick their favourite colour. So let's come into the red room.
Oh wow, look at that.
This is beautiful vibrancy, but also pin-ups allow the children to also personalise the space. And then we've designed this really simple ply furniture and window seat. And this is another breakout space. We do this when we've got a long corridor. We're trying to bring in some good ventilation, but also natural light. And it's offered us this place to put books and future for a TV.
With older children such as I have, I could imagine this being completely taken over as the games room.
Definitely.
I love this house, Susie.
Oh, thank you. We do too, really do.
Fondly referred to as Little Big House, this is a home with a big personality that suits this family to a T. The architecture, the interiors and the landscapes have all been designed together, and you can tell. This is a home designed for living.
We're looking for some of the best interior design across the country. And if you're still hungry, come with me now for more than just a taste.
This next project is Six Head Restaurant in the Rocks in Sydney. I love how history has really informed the design.
This is a wonderfully preserved, historic, open warehouse that doesn't take away from the beauty of the harbour.
Six Head Restaurant is the newest arrival here at the Rocks. And when you experience the silent design I'm about to share with you, you'll understand why Sydney is about to be seduced. Callie, I love this entrance. I mean, it really is quite dramatic. Why the 6 cowheads?
So it goes back to the first fleet that arrived here in 1788, and along the way they picked up 4 cows and 2 bulls, and those are the first cows to ever come to Australia, and a convict was asked to look after them. He didn't. During lunch break, they wandered off, never to be found again, and discovered 8 years later, now wild, and numbering 100, and that saved that first colony from starvation. We got to learn about Dion Horstman. He's quite a famous sculptor, and the way that they turn out and kind of float within the space is magnificent.
With all this heritage, it must have been super tough to install all of this beauty when really you're not allowed to touch the walls at all.
So the building was built between 1850 and 1860. Nothing's plumb. Things are out quite a lot when you start measuring it up. The rope came about really out of necessity, in that when we started taking the finishes off the walls, it started breaking up the sandstone. And so the heritage architect stopped us from taking it off. And so we needed to find a solution to kind of screen it because it was very jarring to this side of the building. So we conceptualized the idea and then found an artist by the name of Melissa Carey. And she was wonderful to work with. It's spectacular. We love the outcome.
So the lobby is quite an entrance statement, and again, we're celebrating all this beautiful historic sandstone.
Yeah, so in this particular case, the issue was that we were not allowed to go into the wall with the back bar, and so we set it off by 100 mil, but used the opportunity as a set-off to get a lot of light in, and the distance allowed you to light up all the sandstones to get a very beautiful warm glow at night, which wouldn't have been possible otherwise. There was no need for a bar top where you can put your legs under, and so we used the opportunity to carve a bar out of one big piece of wood. This shape echoes the columns. It's exactly the same chamfer, exactly the same dimension. You won't pick up that it's there, but subliminally you are aware that things are in tune. It's one piece of music.
So there's a lot to think about.
People don't go to a restaurant just to have a meal. They go to kind of socialize, have a great experience. If it was about eating, they'd eat at home. Or Uber Eats, but it's not about that. So if you design a restaurant well, you want to think about where people will be placed, how spontaneously they could potentially have the chance encounter with somebody else.
You know, you've had to distance these things just far enough apart so that they can have a private conversation, but close enough together to get your chance encounter.
Like a great piece of music, there's a difference between somebody playing with sensitivity and the silence between the notes that makes for music to be either brilliant or just pedestrian. And if you're able to get the silence between the notes correct, you get the rhythm correct. And great design is exactly like that. It's the silence between the notes. Not everything's there to be a hero and to be loud. Some pieces are there just to be silent and in the background and support.
When we head out for dinner and great food is combined with a beautiful environment, it's a wonderful experience. But that doesn't happen by accident. Callie and his team have given deep, considered thought to the design here. which means you're instantly comfortable, whether you're sitting here, 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 or here, meaning you're relaxed and enjoying your meal before the food has even arrived. And whilst most of the customers won't even notice half of the design work that's been done here, they will be luxuriating in it nevertheless. Now it's over to the judges to make the almost impossible choice of who's going through to the final.
This is a rooftop that you happen to live in rather than an apartment surrounded by landscape. The fact that they had this wonderful historic building that could withstand weight was a logical use of the space.
Look, I'm not surprised this one has been voted into the final. It has a lot of texture, a lot of colour, a lot of life. A great example of Australian design.
Well, we're 4 projects down and 6 to go before we have our final top 10. Join us next week as we continue our search for Australia's best interior design.